Welcome to the Bob and Mike cast. I am Mike Kazmarchik. I'm here with fellow realtor Bob Greenlaw.
Hey, Mikey.
What's up today, sir?
You know, it's a good day. It's
Why is it a good day?
It started raining now, but it was beautiful. Because it got cold.
Yeah. It's been nice, beautiful, and then
It's been beautiful.
and then cold.
Yeah, and then it got cold, and then it got nice, and now rain. I thought today was
It's a roller
supposed to be
coaster,
nice, Like I thought today was going to be a very nice day, but it's a good day here today. So
Good day to be inside.
That's right.
Somewhat.
That's right.
Yeah. There's kind of overcast. I don't see a whole lot of sun coming through. So,
All right.
Hey, listen. We have a sponsor. Well, at least our coffee is sponsored. So, I have a listener came in and dropped these off for us, and I guess he liked the Tim Hortons story.
Oh, very cool. Thank you.
But yeah, so there's the gift card.
Man, we appreciate that. We
one
appreciate
for Mike,
that.
and we have one for Bobby.
All right.
So the coffee is sponsored. Now, I guess we're not
right.
sponsored by Tim Hortons, but our Tim Hortons is
Our fan is sponsoring Tim Hortons for them.
our one fan. Yes.
Yeah, our
Yes.
one fan.
Thank you. Thank you for
buddy.
listening.
Yes, we do. We thank you.
Yeah. So what else is up?
Well, you know, it's been a roller coaster week of things and events that I'm sure, you know, probably a good idea if we start yapping about it, because
We're going to talk about it.
We had some
I may
crazy
get a little
things.
upset,
yeah,
but we had an interesting night.
we had an interesting night. We had crazy tax season. We had things coming in and coming out, missing things and needing stuff as always. And
So we had this deal, and there was right before you close a real estate deal, there's a final walkthrough of the house. So the buyer comes through and wants to make sure that the house is in the same condition that it was when they purchased, right?
Right.
Final, hey, you're gonna spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on this thing. You better make sure that it's what you paid for, right?
Sure,
Because
exactly.
once you sign, it's yours.
it's yours, right?
So
Because in Michigan, we close at the table. So
Yes.
which
Yes.
means you get the keys at closing. It's not an escrowed closing. So
Yes.
but okay. Anyway.
And there was this shelf in the basement, right?
Yeah.
And it was the father's shelf. The father had passed away. The son wanted to take that, and it was agreed upon that the son was going to take that shelf.
Sure.
The shelf was up during the initial selling period, but then when they started moving things out, the shelf went down. So during the walkthrough, the shelf was gone. Okay.
Okay.
So the buyer went through, noticed that behind the shelf, there was the wall was a different color, right? It was because there was a shelf covering it up, and obviously over 20 years,
Fading, yeah.
there's going to be discoloration, right?
Right. Sure.
Nothing unusual about it, but the agent that we were working with sent a newer agent to do the walkthrough the first time,
Okay.
and so we've been on thousands of inspections, thousands of walkthroughs, and an agent that's been doing this for a little bit of time should be able to look at that wall and say, hey, this is normal, perfectly normal, no issues.
Sure.
Well, when you get a newer agent, they look at it and the buyer says, well, what's going on here? And the agent has no idea.
Sure. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. So you can imagine. So it caused a big issue, right? And the buyer thought that there was something going on with the wall.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Okay. So
this causes turmoil.
Yeah.
No.
So now the buyer's nervous, right?
Sure.
Everything was going smooth
And justifiably
no
so.
issues. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So, and if you don't have an experienced agent, you're going to, they don't know what they're saying.
That's the reason. Yeah.
Yeah. And, so they,
I'm just waiting for you to cue me in on when you get to the opinion part.
The crazy part.
No, the opinion part of that, because that's the thing, right? That's the final walkthrough. It's supposed to be a visual thing. Make sure things weren't destroyed on your way out.
Yes.
Well, at least it is here,
Yes.
right?
All right. So, I'll speed it up because it's a long
No,
story. I could go on
it's
for
not a speedy story. It's just a part of why you said inexperience. But
I can see you're giving me the shot clock. Like, hey, speed it up here.
like
That's it.
wrap it up.
Yeah.
Wrap
What
it
else?
up.
I'm moving on, right? I'm giving too many details, but yeah. So
too many
long
details.
story short, the agent, the real agent that we're dealing with, right?
Sure.
The head agent, I guess, called me and he's like, hey, listen, we got an issue and the buyer's concerned. And he sent me pictures. I'm looking at these pictures. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, where's
This
the
is normal
concern?
stuff. I don't see anything wrong here. And he said, okay, listen, can I get back in there? Now, mind you, you're only supposed to get one walkthrough. Okay. says, can I get back in there, take a look at it so I can explain to my buyer? Because he's, a seasoned agent, has been doing this for a while.
Sure. And he knew there was nothing to be worried about. And he wanted to tell his buyer there
Mm-hmm.
while they were together. We understand it.
Yeah.
And you did make that happen, right?
Yeah. And this was a night of closing, and they had, they're moving cross country, and they had, 2 trucks, 2 huge semis, pulling stuff out. They had movers going through. The family was there trying to clean up and make the house presentable for the buyer.
Right. Clean it up, get it ready.
Yeah. So I said, listen, I'll do you a solid. I'll let you get back in there. You take a look at it. So, because you've seen it.
Yeah.
You can tell them.
You're not worried about it. Yeah. He won't be worried about it.
So I'm like, okay, all good. Right. Later that night. Right.
This is where it gets funny.
And I tell him, I said, listen, the sellers are going to be they're probably going to be in the house, but they're going to be going back and forth, moving stuff. If they're not in it, please knock first. And if, otherwise there's a lockbox you can use, right? And they're okay with it. I get a call from the seller. Mike, there are 4 guys that walked into my living room. One guy's got a bucket, and they got a bunch of power tools, and I don't know what's going on. And I'm a little nervous, and, and he was freaking out, rightfully so. This guy was in his living room moving stuff. He turned around, 4 guys standing there with a bucket of tools. I'm like, what is going on? He's like, I sent him out. I told him to leave. I said, yes, good for you. Good for you. So, and anyway, so then the agent, the buyer, not the lead agent, but the other agent calls me. He's like, hey, Mike, I'm out front, and this guy won't let me in. I said, what is going on? What are you trying to do?
Why was he even there?
And I said, I thought the other agent was supposed to be there, the head agent. And he's like, well, he couldn't make it. So I'm here. And mind you, this is a guy that caused the big problem.
Right, exactly.
So he orchestrated this whole thing. He has the inspector, he has himself, and I don't know the buyer, and then one other guy. I don't know, maybe a foundation specialist or something. I don't know. But
what do you mean you don't know?
Mind you, the pictures, there's a 6-inch stress crack that we see over and over and over.
Yeah.
It's in every house, right?
Right.
No big deal. It's been there for 20 years. Never, I don't know what the concern was, but they wanted to look at it, and they were willing to let them in. But all of a sudden they showed up, and 4 guys. You're going 4 deep. You got tools. You got buckets.
There's 4 guys.
Yeah.
There's tools. There's buckets.
So he's trying to get in, and he's like, hey, Mike, can I just get in? And I'm like, listen, you had your chance. You weren't even supposed to be there. And
why didn't the guy call the cops?
Well, then he started texting me, and I was on the phone with the actual buyer, another family member who was selling the house, and I was on the phone with her, and I was getting texts from him because he was at the house, like, hey, they're still here, they're not leaving. I'm about to call the cops.
Oh my God.
Because, okay, so they were probably there talking.
Sure.
Which I understand.
Which we all do.
I don't think there was a problem, but they were in front of the house and they were talking for a while.
No, it's just a situation that's getting funnier by the second.
Yeah,
it's turning into a Seinfeld episode.
But he's trying to get out of the house to take stuff to the curb and put stuff in the truck.
And he's probably
nervous.
Yeah.
He's nervous. He thinks that they're trying to intimidate him, which I can understand that, right?
Yeah, right.
He's like, if they don't leave him, to call the cops. So I'm back and forth.
Oh my God.
And
so this is going
I'm
there.
completely stressed out. I'm trying to ease the situation, and because it's all for nothing. There's nothing wrong with the wall.
Yeah.
But there's just it was behind the shelf.
And these guys walked in.
They walked in. Imagine that. You're stressed out. You're moving all day, right? You turn around
and
4 grown men in your living room with a bucket and tools. Like, you don't know what's about to happen, right?
I mean, gasp for air, right? You turn around and wham.
It's like a scene out of Goodfellas.
That's what I'm saying.
You don't know what's going to happen.
What, a bunch of pipe fitters show up?
Yeah. I mean, what are you planning on doing? The guy's like, hey, I was going to pop the panel. I'm like, no, you can't do that.
Pop what panel?
It's not your house yet.
What's a panel of what?
I don't know. There was the
there was
shelf
a crack.
was the issue.
What's the panel?
Yeah. What else are you looking into at that point?
Are you even? Were they at the right house? Yeah, because
Yeah.
you said this is the other agent that
Yeah.
started the confusion to begin with.
So long story short, they didn't let him back in the house.
Thank God.
And things eventually calmed down. I think they were able to, understand that, hey, this is not that big of a deal. And they closed. But craziness, like smooth craziness, and then the calm closing. So yeah, anyways,
Wow. So you were stressed out.
it was a rough night.
It was a
It was a rough night.
Yeah, it was a rough night.
But
Oh,
I was
man.
texting you in between, talking to all these people. I'm like, I cannot believe what's going on.
Yeah.
Like
I was dying to hear this
Yeah.
because you wanted to save it for the cast. So initial impression here is thinking in my head, oh my Lord, you had to deal with crazy like that?
yeah. I mean, it was nuts.
Oh yeah. I mean, listen, like I said, you turn around and you've got grown men standing in your room
Yeah.
and they're looking at you about popping panels. What
Mhm.
panel? I'm still confused because you said it was a crack. It's a normal crack.
Yes.
We have the agent agreeing. You're agreeing. Everyone is agreeing. There's no issue.
Mm-hmm.
But now we have 4 dudes with pipe fitting wrenches. We're popping panels,
Yeah.
standing in the living room like you're
Yeah.
about to get lynched. Like like you said, seen out of Goodfellas.
Yeah.
It jumped up a notch. It did,
Yeah.
didn't it?
Yeah. I mean,
It did jump up a
it was
notch.
crazy.
I
It
mean,
was
you were
calm.
calling cops. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah. So, anyways, yeah, I'm like, hey, called the agent. I'm like, can you just have them drive down the street? Just they feel threatened. They're trying to move stuff. There's a car there. They don't know if you're mad because he wouldn't let you in. And yeah, so craziness. And
And all of it, of course, is 100% innocent. Like,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
nothing going. There's
Well,
obviously there was nothing wrong. It was just a scene set up that you can't explain. These guys come in who are literally there to just inspect this crack that is nothing.
it was innocent on all sides, really.
I don't know why they have 4 dudes there with
And-
tools on a walkthrough.
Well, I'm going to point to one person who kind of caused this whole thing, and obviously it was the inexperienced agent, right?
Right.
When you break it down, there's your problem.
and how many times do we stress how important it is to pick the right agent? You know?
Yeah. He took that little 6-inch crack that was nothing.
Yeah, and turned it into a chaotic event.
And almost, to the point where nobody wanted to close.
I mean, could you? Let me just ask you this.
Yeah.
Let me rewind this story
okay,
back.
Take it back.
Yeah, I'm
What do
gonna
you got?
rewind it 10 seconds, and I'm gonna add some cool elements to this to see how What if the cops would have been called?
Yeah.
Imagine that.
You're a new neighbor. You're a new buyer. You're moving into this neighborhood, and your first meeting of the neighbors
Is a cop car?
cop car coming up. And
Yeah.
and yeah,
Yeah,
not cool.
not cool.
Not cool.
Would have been bad.
Yeah.
That would have
So-
turned into an event of I'm not buying the house.
Yeah, for sure.
If it were me,
Mhm.
and an innocent situation would have escalated to police showing up, I'd have been like,
yeah. I'm on my final walkthrough, and the seller calls the cops on me.
yeah, I'm out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the seller was feeling threatened. So
Sure.
I get it. And,
No, again,
Anyways.
this is a funny situation. Set the scene. Wow. It unfolded, right? It's
Yeah.
so crazy about how you're there for something
Mhm.
so simple, and then it turns into being like, now I don't feel comfortable. What's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And everybody on both sides of the story had a legitimate reason to do whatever they were doing and why they were there. I mean, it wasn't a secret they were coming. It just, we didn't expect 4, and we didn't expect
expected
tools.
one, maybe, the agent, maybe the buyer with the agent. And
Right.
you got, like, what are you doing? What are you planning on doing to this house that
Well,
you don't own yet?
They're popping panels, and
Yeah.
we're not even here for a panel. I'm sure you explained why they were coming back to look at a crack.
There was no tools needed because they were looking at what was supposed to be the space that was covered up.
I still
that they
cannot
couldn't
get
see during
over
the inspection, right?
the tools.
So what do you need tools for?
What are you bringing tools into a final walkthrough?
Yeah.
It's
it
a
makes-
visual inspection. Visual.
Yeah.
Please walk
that-
through and make
that-
sure there's no damage. And now we're bringing in tools and we're popping panels.
That was my week.
Wow.
That was the beginning of the week. So I'm actually much calmer today.
Yeah.
I'm
Well, good,
a
I'm
lot
glad.
calmer.
And
It
I'm
was,
glad it all worked out real smooth, and
Yeah.
it seemed like it closed. So
Yes.
happy. Congratulations on your closing. But
So we did. Moving on.
moving on. But these are chaotic, fun stories, and this is at the literally 24th hour.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
If it's going to go wrong and it goes wrong there, it can go wrong really bad.
Uh-huh. I guess that's,
Oh
people
my
say,
God.
what do
I
you
would have
do?
died if he would have,
Yeah.
escalated to the point that police were called, that would have turned this whole thing into
Yeah.
one chaotic event.
So,
And it was there, it sounds like.
Yeah, and that's a fun one.
We chalk it up for later episodes, which is great. And, you know, these make for great stories. So. So what else happened after that? So now that you wound down, there's more going on to that day?
I don't want to. I can't. I don't know if I can talk about the rest of that. But yeah, everything was good. Everything was
good.
Hey, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was watching TV, relaxing, right, trying to wind down after that. And there's a show on history about the pyramids.
Oh boy. Okay.
Right, and
I know I'm intrigued too. Trust me, but I don't blame you 100%.
I'm fascinated by this, right?
Me too.
It's just
it's amazing.
And okay, so the story that we were told growing up, right, was that you know, the Egyptians used slave labor, and it took about 30 years, and they constructed these massive pyramids, right?
Right.
As temples for you know the
Burial.
pharaohs. Yep.
And
so just
I don't buy
now,
it, by the way.
Okay, yeah, and
before you even ask the question, I'm not going to buy it.
It was what you were told, right? That's and you
sure. I know what the storybooks
say,
say. Yeah,
but all of a sudden, you know, they start going over actually how it had to be done.
Okay,
and like where all the materials came from. They didn't actually come from, you know, close areas. They had to send them down the river to build these huge blocks.
There's 1,000. I'm sure there's a million theories. I don't even know.
Yeah. So let me give you.
There's only one way that they did it, and no one seems to know how they did that.
All right. So
anyway, I don't buy any of that stuff.
They say that they were. I mean, just amazing engineering, feat.
Sure,
right?
It was amazing,
especially way back then, right? Like,
right. Sure, I totally agree.
Crazy. Like they say, it would be so hard to build these now, right? With all the tools and equipment that we have, it would still be hard, but they did it. So
that I don't believe.
So I have a couple. They had a couple different theories, right? I'll give you two. So one I told you, right? The whole story that we've heard. Old Man River.
Old Man River going down the.
Yeah.
No one buys it. Go.
No. Okay. So that's the first one, right?
First of all, the blocks were like 2,000 pounds, rivers. Yeah. I mean, listen.
And then how do you, come on. You can do the first level. I can see that.
Once you have to go up
going up.
Yeah.
And then the way that they cut out the interior.
Yeah.
And then they had like these tunnels or whatever, or
chambers, what do you call them?
Yeah. That would focus on, that would let certain light in from the stars, or it would, they said that they were built like Orion's belt, and they were, anyways.
Yeah. Okay. The constellation.
The exact dimensions.
Sure.
Like, how do you, like, without aerial view, how do you make them match up like the same dimensions as Orion's belt, right? Like, how do you do that? It's, anyways. So there's
theory number one is we're just going to shoot it down that that's bullshit. We're not floating.
We're just going to say that it happened, right? And,
yeah. Okay.
The theory number two.
Okay.
Is the aliens, right? Aliens came down, built them, right?
I don't buy that either.
I don't agree with that. Okay. Then the theory number three, which, what if, right? They were a much more advanced civilization.
Yes.
Than we are now.
Yes.
Right. And they were moving towards that.
I agree with that.
And then that civilization, that group, whatever, wiped out somehow, some way, or at least their technology or the people that knew it or whatever. Anyways, so they were building up to be this, totally modern civilization. So, they showed some of the hieroglyphics in the chamber, right? Had like this light bulb, like it was like showing like how to make a light bulb. So they reconstruct. I know.
It had a how-to make a light bulb. That's where Edison got it from.
It was showing the stuff, right? And so they reconstructed it out of materials that they would have had back then, and it worked.
Yeah.
So like they're saying, did they have electricity? Like were they? And it could be.
Well, I know that the Egyptians were great at using mirrored and shiny metal to amplify light.
Okay.
But maybe the reverse was they were pulling night sky light, like during like nice nights, like the moon was bright, and they knew how to amplify the moon so that they could have light at night, and maybe like they had parties and stuff. I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying what I would have done if I lived back in those days.
If you were with the Egyptians,
well, you're there. There's no.
you're there. You are there.
Okay, they didn't have power.
Well,
If they had power, then we can just say, well, we know how they built the pyramids.
Okay. Well, what about
Because then they would have had machinery. Because what would you have done with power? Does that make sense?
Well, we do a lot of things with power.
Right.
Yeah.
When we started creating steam engines and powered and generators, we created light. Light got, now we don't live without it, right? Electricity is very important.
Yeah.
But here's my question. Okay, forget going into our stuff. Let me get back to the pyramids. The one thing I do agree, and I will say this very adamantly. You can't forget how they built the pyramids. The only way that can happen is if you erase history.
So you're saying that
somewhere they decided that taking, like you said, maybe their technology was advancing too fast. Maybe things were getting way too crazy. Pharaohs were out of control. They're building these stupid pyramids to put one person in. Seemed kind of crazy to me, but when you only had one person that mattered in the whole world back then, which was the Pharaoh, right? Didn't seem so crazy then. Apparently, the people built it. They didn't have any problems. They didn't go on strike.
I got a question.
Yeah.
So, how long did people live to back then?
30, right? I think 30 was like 30s, right?
Well, King Tut was like, what, 36?
I don't know.
Check your history book.
I'm sure that he was not old. I don't think there was a pharaoh that died at 90. Anyway.
90, okay. So when do they start building these things?
That's what I'm getting at.
Like when they're born?
Born. Yeah.
So when they're born, like
so
who commissions?
King Tut was the one that decided to build it for himself when he was one.
And I need to. They didn't get into King Tut in this one, but yeah.
But I know where you're going. But I know where you're going with this. Your question is right.
Yeah.
If it takes you 20 to 30 years to build one pyramid.
Yes.
And you're only living it until you're in your 30s. That means the father of their child had to have had a commission on his birth, which would make sense. So it's easy.
I can understand that. Yeah.
That's an easy lineage thing. It makes sense. Yeah. One pharaoh to the next. I want my son to have a big pyramid.
But
the
father was probably the father at age like 15, 16.
I don't know.
Right? Like, I don't think he's waiting until he's 30 to have kids. Like, it's not like, hey, I'm going to travel Europe. Back then, hey, I'm going to go out.
You only live till 30.
Yeah.
So.
And then come back and start a family. I don't think that's what they were doing.
They did not. No, I don't think pharaohs
even
went on
with
vacation.
all their electricity.
Yeah.
I don't think they were.
I'm telling you, they knew how to use mirrors, though. This is, I mean, you see it in a ton of movies, but a bunch of history.
Like magicians.
Not magicianal.
Magicianal type. Can they make things disappear like with mirrors and stuff?
There's a movie. It's you'll know it.
Got to give me more than
give
me something.
Raiders of the Lost Ark or something like that. One of those, right?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't he National Treasure? That's what it is with Nicolas Cage.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He goes into that thing, lights up a thing, turns a mirror, turns another mirror. Next thing you know, you're lighting up Broadway.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was Indiana Jones. Doesn't matter. Either
Under
way.
Washington, right?
Whatever.
Yeah.
But the point is, shining this, what they would have, because everyone knows that, at least the things we see about Egyptians, they wore a lot of gold or they must have had a lot of jewelry.
Mm-hmm.
We know jewelry to be metallic of some sort. So there's some sort of metallic, right? Maybe not gold, but it could have been lead. It could have been anything that they were using that could be formed to jewelry. Plenty of paintings that show it, right?
Yeah.
So now I ask you, they have all these metals. They shine them up. They're reflecting. I don't know. Maybe like you said, was the technologies, they discovered electricity. Maybe a lightning storm.
Yeah.
Hits the sand. Next thing you know, you got this big glass thing. They're calculating stuff, trying to capture the air.
Yeah. Because I'll go deep on you. I mean, listen, there was fire, right? Go way back. You have fire, forest fires, whatever. What animals do?
Run,
right? And what did humans decide to do?
Run into the fire.
Harness the fire, right? So you're looking at all these things. Maybe they had something where they were able to harness the lightning. Who knows?
Well, here's the thing. They say that the plates move. Well, at least I've seen before or heard where the
Talking about the Earth.
Yeah, the Earth moving, right?
Yeah.
So the climate changed in where the pyramids are now, right? Before that time, it was very green, wet. Maybe they brought them in on boats. I don't know. Maybe they flooded the area and then drained it, and maybe that's how they built it, and that's why the chambers are in there, because it was a draining point for water.
Drainage system, yeah.
Sure.
Could be.
And then as it decreased its level, what was left was the Great Pyramids. Okay, sure. But I think there would be enough evidence somewhere around there to prove that there was water, right?
Yeah,
Come on.
exactly.
Let's stop looking at the pyramid and let's go out 60 miles and find out, was there a ridge line? Was this an ocean at one point? Did it flood? Did it drain? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Someone said there's a pyramid in Antarctica. I
Really?
just saw that.
Yeah.
Elon Musk found it.
Okay.
Or it's a gag. I don't know. We've got to look at it.
Could be one of those fake clickbait stories, but hey, who knows?
Don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, no,
Because I said
I'm
the Earth
totally
has
fascinated
moved,
by
right?
those things. Yeah.
I mean, what if under Antarctica, because we don't know what's under there, what if one day Russia becomes the new Antarctica, Antarctica falls down to become the new North America, and when that melts, we find a whole civilization that was buried by the ice?
Yeah.
Would you be shocked?
I'm not shocked at anything at this point. Yeah.
We won't be here.
No.
Our,
Hopefully not.
or
'Cause that
our
would be,
kids, that'd be crazy.
Yeah.
Talk about crazy.
You want to talk about crazy?
You
The
wanna
world
talk-
shifting?
That's what the world is doing, man.
Yeah, it always does.
It's moving.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's you and I have said this before, but I believe that we are a sphere of liquid. Nothing inside our sphere, Earth, is grounded to anything. It's all moving.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Like even
Go
down to the
back
deep
to
of
the-
our core, it's magma.
Yeah.
Magma's not solid, it's a liquid.
Yep.
So by definition, nothing is actually solid. Like we're constantly
You're looking for some type of anchor.
I'm saying this, when parts of Antarctica that are melting away that they're freaking out about, someone show me if other parts aren't freezing somewhere else. Does that make sense?
You're just saying it's just a shifting.
Yeah, so like the parts of Antarctica, the one glacier we see melting off, it's because the Earth is moving towards warmer climate, and something else is going to freak. I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense to you. I don't know. I'm crazy like that, but I think it's all a liquid, and no matter what, it's like matter can't be created and or destroyed, right? So if things are melting this way, something behind it has to be freezing, and maybe the Egyptians were way past holding on the secret to that because their whole story is missing.
Yeah.
Just the how. How did it get built? Why are we still asking this question? This thing's been studied since you had a visual eye on the pyramids.
Yeah. And there's
nobody has an answer.
And I watch these shows and there's so many shows on the pyramids, but it's always like, ooh, this breaking discovery. Everyone just keeps finding things, and
like they know how
knows?
the Colosseum got there.
Mm-hmm.
They know how it was built.
Yeah.
They knew how to get water. Why don't the Egyptians know how to build pyramids? Why are we still trying to mathematically figure this out? That's one of the great mysteries of life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So again, the only common answer to that would be is a period of time was either the world was completely wiped out and people had to start over. And when they did, they said, we're not going down that road.
2500 BC.
Yeah. Long time ago.
Yeah. 2500 BC. And Colosseum was what?
I don't know. 780.
70 and 72.
Oh.
So 2,500 years after the pyramids came the Colosseum.
And you cannot explain how they were built.
And the Colosseum was an amazing feat, right?
But listen, man, the pyramids were built by human beings.
Yes.
There can't be a lost civilization. The only way to say there was a lost civilization was there has to be a period in time where there was no more history being recorded.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because we don't know how they built it.
No.
Nobody knows how they
long
built
time
it.
ago. And, but they have hieroglyphics on the wall and the interior and the chambers and all that stuff. And they're trying to translate, and that's where they're finding all these things. But you're translating almost pretty much a dead language, right? And you're trying
who okay. I love when people say that because how do you know? You don't know. You got to go back.
Yeah. You're doing you're guessing at what.
So here's my point.
Is, right?
If you could go back in time far enough through language to interpret these symbols in the pyramid, if they were already putting them in the pyramid, why is there a break? See what I'm saying? There should be a definitive, like Latin. Everyone talks about Latin, right?
There should have been the story of how they were built on the wall, right? You would think?
And someone along the way that knew how to read it and tell that story generation after generation. I mean, do you see what I'm saying here?
Oh, yeah.
Romans have been telling the story about Roman times through their descendants. They don't study this in Italy. Most of them will talk about it probably because they're from Italy and Rome and all that other stuff, right? It's like you know this stuff. Whereas the Egyptian, they were creating pyramids far grander than anything else that was ever built of the time. Where's their story? Or was it the biggest thing of the time that they couldn't get rid of because it was so big?
So
they were able to wipe everything else out.
There was more?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if it was like a nuclear explosion of fusion? No, fusion, like the Earth did it. Not bomb like an alien bombed it, but
I was thinking, they had nuclear reactors. They were.
What about if like a meteor got through and hit I don't know, maybe it was because it was a flourishing area.
Yeah, just like when they wiped out the dinosaurs, right? So,
but see, that makes sense, right? Because there are no dinosaurs to tell the story because we knew they had an end, right? They ended. So the Egyptians, by definition, by history standards, had to have ended.
Yes.
So where the story cannot be told.
At least the ones that knew the story, right?
At least the ones that knew the story.
Did not make it, right?
Because I believe where there were Egyptians, there were Aztecs on the other side of the world, building similar pyramids that could not have been much smaller.
Yeah.
Some say grander, but whatever. But say smaller, but with the same general philosophy and concept. Well, that means there was a shared intelligence.
Yeah, that the pyramid structure was
similar.
Yeah.
Their way was different. Their deities were different, but they still have things that were carved in their stuff that nobody can translate. So maybe they were same time that were kaput.
Oh,
that's what I think, man.
All right.
Well, hey, you asked. I told you.
That's some stuff.
I believe that the stuff is. That's what's crazy about all that. You know, like I'm fascinated, but I'm you know me. I'm very. I love to look at the backside of this thing and say, where did they go? Because somebody has to know, and if they don't, that means everybody. It's like, you know, when you talk about things, if whoever knows about something has to disappear.
I picked the wrong week. Quit sniffing glue.
It was a long week.
Yeah.
Anyway, Egyptians dead. I think their story died, and I think it was ended by probably some kind of a worldly event
Had to be.
that they weren't anticipating. Most likely has to be something to do with plate shifting because, like I said, at that time, whatever was their North Pole moved. They became a desert where they were once a wetland.
Sum it up.
They're dead.
There you go.
That's the story.
All right.
All right, man. Got to go to work.